outrageous things. So it'd be funny, I left the communist country because I had a tendency to get outrageous things, then to come here and get in trouble for it. That'd be kind of weird. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen and I'm hoping for a discussion. And the purpose today is because people have seen different parts of what we're doing, and just to get everybody to let them quickly know overall what's happening, where we're going, and things like that. And we're going to be changing this kind of this meeting. It's been bi-weekly, but we're finding is people are so busy working on different initiatives that's probably beneficial to give them a little bit of a break and have this kind of quick summary every month. Does anybody have a thought that, this is inappropriate, or any comments like that? Okay, well, if you do, you can put it in the chat line, and because that will be saved also with the file, but that's sort of what our plan is. So what we're going to cover today is, first of all, welcome everybody, give a really quick run through our progress on initiatives, also very brief update on the maturity assessment tool for the people side of things, the next steps, and then have an open discussion. So this is our work plan. Everybody's familiar with this. We have these 6 initiatives: the workforce and organizational culture, change management, business process improvement, and technology improvement, and change management, and 6 teams working really well, and each of them applying this improvement methodology to these different aspects. So I'm going to just quickly go over what we're doing about this first step in the process, which is maturity assessment for these 3 areas, for the people team, the process, and the technology. So this is sort of like a in BPMN, this kind of thing that looks like an envelope is a symbol that it's a, quote, collapse process. So if you were in an actual business process model, clicked here, you would go one level below and see what are the activities and sub-processes within here. So when we're talking about assessing system maturity, we really have a couple of things where we have the mature assessment for the workforce and organizational culture, for business processes, and for technology. So I'm going to briefly touch on what we're currently doing on these 3 things that are highlighted here. So at the end of the day, we're going to have these 3 tools. So the first one we're going to look at is the process. And the process maturity model looks like this. It has these 5 components. We look at how complex the process is, whether impact is limited or critical, how much do we know about the process? Do we know not very much, or our knowledge is thorough and complete? As far as goals and performance management, are the goals and requirements defined well? And are we measuring things that would allow us to manage the performance? So these are the characteristics of the business process, because a lot of our work is really focused around business processes. So this is the maturity model that we're using there. When it comes to, and the tool that we have developed, it comes from a different project, actually combines the maturity of the process and the technology. So this tool is in a spreadsheet format, and part of the spreadsheet, it's kind of big spreadsheet. I would be delighted to share the details, share the spreadsheet itself. Let me know if you're interested in working on this. But a part of it is, as people start filling it out, determines the nature of the process and helps us understand where we're there. And the other part is looking at technology, and the technology maturity model comes from Water Research Foundation Project 5039, and it looks at layers. Are we collecting the data that we need? Are we managing it properly? Do we have analytics in place? And what kind of support we can provide to the decision or automate decisions in business processes. So this is the tool that I'm showing just a small piece of it, that is not intended to be a survey that is sent out, but it's really intended to be worked collaboratively by a group in meetings and workshops and so forth. So that is our technology team is going to be looking at utilizing this tool. Then the workforce and organizational culture maturity assessment. I think I've shown a little bit about this before. You may be familiar that we worked for a long time to develop as a team collaboratively a model that includes 7 assessment categories that are listed here: teamwork and collaboration, employee engagement, communication and feedback, reward and recognition. And each of these could be at different level of maturity. And we developed what we call tier 1 questions, which are 18 questions. And I say we, it was really a team effort with people from different utilities participating, and then developed a tool to present the results. So this tool looks sort of like this. When the survey comes back, there are 18 questions. Each of these categories, this is a dashboard where you can look at the results in the dashboard and say, okay, this category of organizational strategy and performance has 3 questions, 1, 2, and 3. This was the rating, and overall, the maturity level is at 2.9, which is sort of neutral between very low and very high. You also can see that this is just one tab called dashboard, and each one of these other aspects and components has their own tab. So the reason why there's no other box, second box for this, is because there's just a single question, question 9, for reward and recognition. And we can slice and dice through these things. So for example, if you're on the dashboard and say, well, how does management feel about things? You may get a picture like this that says, you know, they seem that, you know, it's in pretty good shape. But if maybe staff in the field may have a different opinion, these are not actual results. These are simulated results, because we're now working with several utilities that intend to conduct this, implement this tool, and use it. So we're going to get some real results. I just wanted to show how analysis can be done. And then in addition to the dashboard, we can select the tabs like in teamwork and collaboration, and then say and specify maybe in operations and see the questions that were asked, and also get a sense for what the responses are. So this is just the first round of asking 18 questions to identify where there may be an issue. We can also look at what's, you know, a different department, information technology, how do they feel about it? Or slice it based on the position in the organization. So how do managers feel about it? So so let me see. Okay, so overall we have. I'm missing a slide here. Let me see. Okay, I'm missing a slide, but it's okay. So overall, we conducted what we've just seen, tier 1 questions. You know, that I just showed the results of the survey, and then if we find out that we're scoring low on some categories, then the tier 2 would be launched, and tier 2 can be launched for any of the categories that you feel that you have vulnerabilities. And that one is really in the more of an analysis and systems and thinking about what you should do for improvement, because it includes statements that say, what would be, how can we fix these deficiencies? So it's not questions what's wrong, it's what can be done about it. And so these tier 2 questions, what we currently have done around that is we've
again calling you back from Kansas City.
If people could just put their get on mute. There's some background noise.
I appreciate you calling me back, and really appreciate Jason's help. Thank you.
It's, Charlie.
So what we've finished so far is we have the tier 2 questions defined, but we're working on similar tools like I showed. That one was in Power BI and then reporting. So that's where we are with these two tier 2 questions. And tier 2 questions, you can see, look more like, on the communication feedback, information I receive should be more relevant to me, should be more trustworthy, or common goals for my team should be better defined. So that can really help us define the way forward, and it's stated in sort of positive terms. And from 1.5 is 1 is this is we don't really need to do it at all, and 5 this would really improve the situation. So the what often happens when people think about improvement, that maybe the message is we want a smart, whether you want to call it utility, network, or city, and then people need to figure out what is going to make us smart. So all these assessments that I've talked about, when we combine them, on the left side are the people, and on the right side above are those process maturity levels, and here are the technology. So all that has been worked out. So let's say that you were asked to develop a decision support system, and then you find out that the business process was not well documented, that the business process is complex, that the impact of failure is significant, that the data required by the business process is not collected or generated, that the employee engagement from the people survey is low, and that teamwork and collaboration is at low level of maturity. Obviously, if we went forward without this kind of a priori investigation, we might have a higher level of risk. Even there is a risk within a certain category, let's say business processes, where if it's not well documented and the impact of failure is significant, we would probably want to conclude that we need to, document it better. And finally, we're working on similar things, because after this maturity assessment, we have to eventually get into planning improvements. So we're working on tools that will help us identify the proper course for change and method for change management. So this was just a very quick flight over all the things that these 6 teams are doing, and we have 6 core teams. I just want to stop here and see if there are any questions.
Scott, did you have a question for me? I thought I heard you mention my name. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was just getting on mute, Charlie.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah.
No problem.
All right, thank
you. Mert, you're the only one who turned, the few who turned on the camera, so that was like an invite. Yeah. Any comments or thoughts? Or Marco? Any comments or thoughts? Does this make sense to you at all?
It does.
Okay. So,
Cello, real quick.
Yeah,
so one
yeah.
thing I'll just note quickly. Thank you so much. I have been a little out of the loop from the team and the people side for a while, so it was nice to do a quick catch up for me. By the way, I was sort of double booked, so I couldn't attend the Don't Forget About People webinar, unfortunately. Is that available to watch after the fact?
Yes, these are the events that we've had so far. In January, it was on business processes, as you know. On February, it was the technology. On March, it was people. All of these are available from WEF, the videos. I believe that all three have been posted to our knowledge base, to the OneDrive for WISE. I'm not 100% sure. I will check, but I would also like to have these webinars available for people who go to the WEF WISE website, but that's something that WEF would need to do. But it has been recorded and it should be available.
Okay, I'll find them. Thank you.
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, we're encouraging you to speak up and ask questions and so forth now. But one thing you can kind of see from what Cello presented is that we're finding in each one of these teams that went off and developed assessment tools for their team, that they're seeing the value of integrating their work with other teams. So as it turns out, when we're getting to the piloting stage of things, we're finding a work process team wanting to include people or technology, or we're finding the people teams want to include the business process. And so that's just an observation of where we're headed, a little more integration. So you have the benefit. You remember the wheel that Cello presented, that impacts in one area can affect impacts in others. And so that's just an observation on the way that the WISE program is evolving.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, and I noted in the chat anyway, but yeah, I really like that wheel slide where, you know, you were pointing out maturity levels of different items and how they are related. Yeah, I think it tells a good story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So our next webinar is on April 13, and it's on change management. At the last one for people, I think that sparked the biggest interest. We had about well over 100 people, but there were people from 80 utilities who are not currently members of our program. So WEF is sending out follow-up notes, and we're going to try to see if we can engage some of those folks to join us. So the other thing I want to mention is there was a poll out. We were thinking about having a spring workshop at Kansas City Water hosting in May, but it turned out that there was not very good timing. So we're moving the date to September 12th. Either Charlie or Scott, if you wanted to say a word or two about that, you know, that would be good.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, so we're working on, you know, all the logistics here for September 12th week. I think we kind of centered on a 3-day workshop. Is that correct, or are we still?
Yes, yes, we're counting on part of the survey asks whether people are comfortable on which days of the week would work for them. And according to the results, starting on Monday morning was not a strong, not really a preference. So we will perhaps maybe some reluctance to travel on Sunday, but we will look into that again. But yes, 3 days, and we'll see how these 3 days are going to be distributed, whether we're going to start you know, on Monday afternoon, whether we're going to start on Tuesday morning and go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We haven't really worked out all that, and so it's a bit flexible, about 3 days of content, Charlie, just like you said. Yes.
I'll just add, you know, to the, well, a big thank you to Kansas City, first of all, but we want to get out information in the near future so that all of the utility participants can plan, so they can get travel authorizations, and so we can get as good of attendance as possible.
We have a call set up, don't we, Scott?
Yes, we do. Next week, we're going to be working through, things like the budget and some of those logistics, and we're going to be able to putting ourselves in a position to really finalize an agenda and to get information out to all of the utility participants. So people have been real anxious to get together in person. When we met in Portland, we accomplished a heck of a lot, and people had a good time, and we're looking for the same kind of benefits in Kansas City.
I was looking at my calendar. Do you remember the day and time?
Well, I'll get back to you, Charlie, on that. It's just a few of us are going to be meeting, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't see it. So
I think it might be Monday, but I'll double check and get back to you, Charlie.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Cello, real quick.
Sure.
Just for accuracy, back to the slide you did, just that you were on. I think that technology investment work webinar was on actually Monday, February 28th. In case people are looking for it.
Oh, February 28th? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. This was the original schedule, but it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
This was taken from a slide. I reused a slide that says this is when we will have webinars. And I forgot to correct for, when the webinars actually happen, but thank you for that. Thank you. I'll correct it.
Since we have Marco's, figure live there, we just mentioned that one thing we're doing on all these different assessments is we're really also looking through a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. And that's something that Marco has volunteered to, look out for in these different assessment tools. So we're making sure that we're including equity and diversity inclusion in the different assessments and the engagement of folks.
Yeah, that is something that we're hoping that some folks could, Marco specifically, and others who would like to, could get engaged and make sure that if there's a corrective action that we can take that. So as far as next steps, what we're working on right now is to finalize these assessment tools. There's really quite a bit to it, and to develop guidelines. And Scott mentioned integration of case studies. One of the examples is, for example, digital asset management plans, which includes a heavy dose of technology, but it's really about asset management. So the overlap of interest between the technology team and the asset management team. So we're also looking at the fact that energy management, which is led by Eric Griffin, has a technology component, so that the case studies hopefully will be looking at more than one aspect, so that we have like consideration of people and process and technology in each one of them. And we're having asset management people coming over to talk to the CIP people. We're trying to make the interaction between the peer-to-peer interaction more vigorous and active, because everybody benefits. And we have some utilities who have volunteered or announced that they will conduct pilot implementations for the people. Not yet for process and technology, if some of them are considering. And Ramona is leading the change management effort, where we had a little bit of a late start compared to some of the other initiatives, but we are in the process of defining the maturity model and looking at readiness and capabilities and stuff like that. So the next steps will be to define the scope and schedule for the pilots, and then make sure that the project team is there to provide help on whatever is being done. I'm sorry that this went on a little bit longer than I anticipated. We have 3 or 4 minutes left. Are there any comments or concerns or questions that we could answer? No? Okay.
Cello, I
Yes.
would just mention, you brought up the fact that on the people session, we had 80 new utilities that,
Yeah.
and we had some new ones in technology and business process, and we have change management coming up. We're expecting, a lot of participation there. And we want to take advantage of the fact that new utilities are expressing interest and trying to bring them under the WISE program. So we will be starting Monday with a people session, but in subsequent kind of meetings that we have with the other teams as well, we're going to be inviting people that went to the people or the process or the technology or the change management webinars to join the meeting. And so we'll set aside a little bit of time at the front end so that they can get involved and hopefully sign up for WISE.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? You can put them in the chat so I can look at them later, or just raise your hand. Ramona, any thoughts from you?
No, I apologize. I'm jumping off one meeting and onto the other, but I at least wanted to be here to show my face.
Okay, well,
And I started to work on the template for you for our webinar.
oh, wonderful. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. So it seems like we managed to cover just, the main points of what's going on. We will just a second.